Imagine this for a second. You're holding a choke point and your team is set. Positioning is perfect. And then the enemy team walks through the wall and the fight is over before you can even react. And that's exactly what Kitty Pryde should feel like. And in this video, I'm not just showing you a concept. I'm showing you how she breaks positioning entirely and why most players would completely fail with her. And also how she becomes one of the most oppressive fight deciding supports in the entire game. And if you understand this character, you don't play fights, you decide them. Alright, let's not waste any time. Why would you even pick her over traditional support? Well, because no one else in Marvel Rivals can do this. No one else can turn bad positioning into winning fights, create angles that don't exist, and no one can force engagement before the enemy is ready. Most supports react to the game, but Kitty doesn't. She overrides it. And yes, she doesn't rely on healing, because if you execute properly, your team doesn't need to be healed in the first place.
Next time, let's just trash the place. It'd be a whole lot easier.
Kinda remember telling you not to wait for me.
Yeah, and now look at you.
So, everything revolves around one ability, Phase Corridor. Let's make this concrete. Normally, you push through a choke point, you take damage, and you trade resources. But with Kitty, you skip all of that. You go through the wall and appear behind the enemy. And force them into a panic turn that alone wins fights. Now imagine this. The enemy team is set up perfectly, and instead of challenging them head-on, you remove the concept of frontline. Now, they're surrounded. Allies get 20% damage reduction, and they get a full wall traversal. The enemies can also use it, but they take damage and lose vision clarity while doing so. So this ability isn't really about dealing damage, it's about creating unfair fights. Now here's the mistake most people will make. You still need timing, and that will be with Ghost Wave, brief intangibility, speed boost, and enemy mobility shutdown. Let's say you open Corridor, but your team hesitates, and the fight is lost. Now, with Ghost Wave, your team phases in together, but safely and faster. And that's the difference of having a good idea and actually winning a fight. Now, we fix the biggest weakness, uncertainty. Lockheed, her little dragon, gives you information advantage. If you just think that the enemy team is grouped behind a cover, that's guessing, and guessing is losing. So with Lockheed, you send him through terrain, you confirm position, and you mark the targets. He dives, disrupts, and you engage. This changes everything. You're no longer reacting or guessing. You're just executing with certainty. Now, the ability most people will misuse, Phase Anchor. The bad usage would be to just think, hey, I'll save my teammate. And that's the wrong mindset. The correct usage would be to enable a guaranteed aggressive play. For example, your DPS dives too deep. Anchor triggers. They snap back safely. But here's the catch. They return, but slowed and exposed. And also reposition. So that would make certain Black Panther mains flip their shit. So if you misuse it, well, you don't save them, you just delay their death. So this ability does demand team commitment and not just reacting to the moment. Okay, now let's just stop dancing around it. This character is broken, and in one condition, coordinated aggression. Just imagine the perfect execution. You send Lockheed to scout and mark the enemies. You open a corridor through the terrain and you speed boost your allies with Ghost Wave. The second later, your team phases through the terrain. And the target, well, they get deleted instantly. There's one more thing though, and this is where the character stops being strong and becomes completely unfair. Reality overlap. Kitty distorts the battlefield itself. For a few seconds, the rules of the game stop applying. The allies can move through walls, ignore collision, and get healed when they enter or exit the terrain. The enemies, well, they get desynced, slowed, and their abilities are interrupted. But here's the catch. Stay phased too long, and you start taking damage. So now the entire fight becomes this. How long can you abuse the advantage before it starts killing you? Just imagine your team phasing through everything, while the enemies can't even react. But if you overstay, you die anyway. This isn't just an ultimate, it's a timer on chaos. But if done right, the chaos shall be controlled.
There you are. Chaos control!
And no, she's not useless outside her abilities. Her primary fire is phase jab. Short range, but this is where it gets interesting. Every 4th hit applies this sync, which means that the enemy's hit, any healing done by their supports, will phase straight through them, but only for a short duration. And every 4th hit applied to an ally phases right through and heals. That's pretty simple, but that's basically the idea. But it doesn't mean that it's not good, because even outside cooldowns, she's setting up kills or keeping her allies alive. And it doesn't even stop there, because every ability she uses triggers her passive ability, Phase Wake. Kitty is able to phase through every single unit in the fight. Popping any sort of ability triggers Phase Wake. So for a short duration you'll be able to phase through enemies or allies. Phasing through allies heals and gives them a speed boost. Phasing through enemies gives them this sync, but in a much more dramatic way. Because it's not just their supports anymore that won't be able to heal them. It's also them who won't be able to hit any sort of target. But don't get it twisted, you're still vulnerable, so if you miss the opportunity, well, that will be on you. That idea got suggested by Soldier Nugget, and honestly, it's a pretty good one. I haven't even thought about it. So, thank you for the suggestion. Nugget with Soldier, I don't know if that even would taste good, but hey, whatever. So even if you misuse your kit, you're still able to apply pressure during the fight. Every hit, every ability can shift the course of the game. Now, let's go deeper. And we're not just gonna talk about who counters her, but how she actually loses. The first challenger would be Iron Man. Iron Man doesn't care about your corridor. He would just stay above it. So while your team commits through walls, well, he's already aiming at where you exit. You're not surprising him, you're just flying into his crosshair. The second counter would be Scarlet Witch. Your team groups to use corridor. She wants that. Her chaos control would just punish predictable engages. And her ult will just punish stacked positioning. So instead of engaging, you're just actually feeding her value. The third counter would be Punisher. Punisher doesn't react, he prepares. He knows where you'll come out, and the moment you do, you're already dead. That's almost the same thing for the fourth counter, Daredevil. Daredevil would just see you through the terrain, so you'll be just insanely predictable to him. Her fifth counter would be Doctor Strange. He forces the fight back into something stable, and Kitty loses when the fight becomes predictable. And her sixth counter would be Namor. Squid. That's all I gotta say. And I'm pretty sure that you understand why. Now onto her team-ups. And she only got one. However, this is where she becomes a problem. And the team-up would be with magic. Corridor plus portals equals complete chaos. You're not entering from one angle, you're entering from everywhere. And the enemies cannot track all of those entry points and exit points at the same time. This is chaos, but controlled.
Chaos control!
So what is Kitty Pryde? She's not a healer, she is not reliable, and she is not easy. She's a character that says, if you understand timing, you win instantly, but if you don't, you lose instantly.
3, 2, bye-bye.
If you made it so far, thank you for watching. I wanted to try something else and something a bit new, something a bit more dynamic. For this video, I didn't really focus on the design, I didn't really focus on the drawing aspect because, well, I don't think that most people really care about me drawing. They care more about me creating an existing hero into a game where they are unexisting, if that makes sense. But now, I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think about this design. Let me know what you would change, add, or remove in our ability kit. And yeah, I know that I've took some time to post this video, but you all were just so supportive. So thank you, my people. You're all truly, truly amazing. This was Basidian, and I'll see you next time.